Been on Coast to Coast, a radio show with me for years. He's a psychic lawyer, but he's the real deal.
This book also provides hope in coping with grief, crime, murder, PTSD, and survivor's guilt. The Afterlife Frequency teaches you my 4-step RAFT technique. Recognize spirit contact, accept it as real, feel it without fear, and trust the message.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Pat. I'm the host of the Dr. Pat Show, and I am the creator of the Transformation Network, doing what we do in the world of positive radio, informed, educated, positive media. Independent radio hosts and independent networks have been the face of positive messaging over the past decade. So all of us here have decided we're going to put together an independent network that is going to enable people to bring their positive message of.
Welcome to Aligned Energy with me, Manon, a place where ancient wisdom meets modern health and wellness. People are waking up, questioning who they are and why they're here. For high-performing women, the climb to success can leave them feeling stuck, depleted, or disconnected. But what if the answer isn't in doing more, but in aligning with your true essence? I'm Manon Diverich, and together with Dr. Pat, this show is about coming home to yourself unapologetically. Through education, ancient wisdom, and modern science, we explore energy as the foundation of healing and transformation. Join us now on Aligned Energy and step into the life you were meant to live. Aligned Energy starts now. Welcome. Hello, Dr. Pat. It's so nice to have you back on the show again.
I am so excited. I cannot wait. This is such a cool episode we're doing. Thank you for inviting me back.
Yes, of course, of course. Today, we are going to be talking about a woman you might know or recognize. She's accomplished, she's competent, she handles everything at home, at work, with her family, and she is hitting a wall that she's never hit before. And she doesn't know what's wrong with her, because there's got to be some way to fix it or strategize it or outthink it or work harder or push through. And she just is beside herself because she just doesn't know where to turn. Imagine, if you will, that she was taught that she could not rely on somebody else, and so she just had to do everything herself. She always says she's good, even when she's not, because we are, or she is, the person that supports other people. She's not the one that needs anything. She rarely cries. Not because she's holding it in, but because she's so disconnected from her body and her energy and her emotions that it doesn't even occur to her. That's who we're talking about today. And I want to say to her out there, before we say anything else, nothing is wrong with you. You are at a threshold. You are at a very unique inflection point and a moment in time where you are being given an opportunity, I will say by the universe, to take a step back and think about who you really are, how you want to live, what you want to create for yourself, who you're doing these things for, and why. And is the pain and suffering that you are enduring now, is it more painful than the risk of changing and stepping into something else? That's what I want to lead with today. So, if you haven't figured it out by now, she is me, she is you, she is most women walking around on the streets and in the jobs and driving all their kids around and traveling across the country and speaking on large stages and any kind of leadership, any kind of high achieving, high performing woman I've had these conversations with women that I see in this lens, and they don't see themselves as high performing, high functioning women because that's just what they do. And I'm here to say that is you. You're holding it all together, especially Gen X women that are supporting parents, they're supporting kids that are transitioning, probably out of the house. They're trying to figure out where that leaves their marriage and their relationship. Are they still so ambitious that they're trying to climb a ladder and get to the next rung where they feel like they might have relief? I don't know. But I do know that a lot of things are cracking open right now, and people are figuring out and given the opportunity to decide, am I going to choose me? And what does that actually mean? How does that grab you, Dr. Pat?
I'll tell you how it grabs me because this is something I've spent a lot of time with, both you and I, and thank you for this topic. I've gone through an evolution in my own, let's just call it either career, working environment, just environment and being in the world. And, if you come from where I came from, when I came from it, what you find is all the things that have caused the situation we're talking about. Like you and I were chatting before the show, and we're like, okay, how are you? I'm good. I'm fine. Right? But there's a history behind it. So let's tap into that because it's really important to really look at the socio-psychological aspect of this. This did not happen overnight. It really didn't. And the other thing, Manon, that I want to mention is this fluctuates across cultures and countries. It really does. My people from Italy and Brazil, the women in the family, it is natural and accepted when you ask them, how are you doing? And they are not doing fine, and they talk to you in the language, their native tongue language. It usually takes a good 2, 3, 4, 5 minute answer to that. And if they're not doing well or they are doing well, you're going to get the excitement. Now, why are we talking about this today? I mean, look, there are more studies that have been done on this since I was young. But my journey to where I am today literally could be mapped to the cultural influence around what we say, how we say it, and what we put in our minds. How many times have you heard stories of, do we want to say outspoken women, women in the world that if they show a real emotion of something, they are categorized. And what we're talking about is the stereotype of women being emotional. And it's heavily influenced by culture. So the generation you're talking about now gets to rewrite the script, where my generation had to literally learn how to suck it up. Even if we were asked the question, how are you? And you're not good because maybe you just lost a family member, your answer was, we were always told to just be good. I had a boss tell me one time, when you come into this job, I got a bucket by the door, and you need to put your personal stuff in the bucket. I mean, he literally did this. So you understand how massively impact that conditioning is, right?
Yeah. Well, and I grew up with a mom who was taught to be seen and not heard,
Oh,
to not talk about anything contentious, to tiptoe around things. And I totally understand where that came from, but whether that was taught outright or whether that was just modeled, that's what a lot of us came up with. And then I think with a lot of divorced households, where you watched the man leave and you didn't, like in my case, I didn't want to give my power away. I started out very early on recognizing I'm going to be the one that has the power and the money and the job, and so that will be a way of protecting myself, so that even if the marriage doesn't work out, that I'm not going to be the one that's having to, be left,
Hmm.
start, or be
Yeah.
dependent, I guess is really what it is, And there are plenty of friends of mine who have had parents that were just where maybe I'll say the dad was not around, or there were so many kids that they couldn't rely on anybody else to help
Yeah.
them with their needs. I think especially the firstborn, right? Because then more kids come along, the energy and focus gets repointed. And so I think a lot of the firstborns are like, you know what, I'm going to go do it myself. And then they get a lot of positive reinforcement for that. And they're like, oh, she doesn't need any help. She's good. So we're going to keep putting our energy over here. So we just
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
going.
What I love about that is the role the ego plays in that. Because if you think about it, I'm not seeing it. I mean, we're changing. But here's one kicker, right? If you're that first child, right, it's not just about like the other kids come. Now, back in the day, you had to be responsible for those other kiddos. That was like an unwritten rule, multi-generational, right? You had to be the one. Mama not here, you're in charge, right? Now you got two brothers. You got a brother and a sister now. Oh, oopsie. Now you have to take care of them. And so the burden, the mind sucking burden of this
Hmm.
is that you mentally, your mind has been conditioned to do three things. If I'm the protector, I dang better be fine all the time. You ask me, I better be good. I better be fine because nobody wants to hear what happened to little Johnny or Mary under your care. So the mind is trained early on, and that doesn't stop there. Then you go into a workplace or you go into a job or you go to school and you go to these other places, right? So you step into the zone of this to the point where your mind is trying to navigate every single time, every single moment how you're supposed to show up. And that's why we can't meditate because are we meditating right, Manon? Am I doing it right? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I got the wrong music on. Look, the ego is a massive, important attribute of who we are. It's here for a reason, just like chocolate. Chocolate is here for a reason for some of us.
That's right.
It is. But you have to know. You have to know who the heck is running the ship today, Manon. Is that me? Is it my ego that made me afraid to actually say to my boss, Joe, it's not one of my best days. Yeah. It's going to
Hmm.
take me a little time. I had a real personal thing, right?
Yeah.
Please don't invite me to the board meeting because I may cry. My mom just died. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When I think of ego, though, I think of the fact that it really wants to keep us in the known. When I did a lot of Joe Dispenza stuff, that's his big thing. Like that is why it is so hard to start meditating because your body does not want you to go into a place that is not known. And so it's going to come up with little itches that need scratching, little reminders of things you forgot to do, like, anything, your back is starting to hurt, anything to try to pull you out of that zone so that you can come into meditation. But spiritual evolution requires stepping into the unknown, right? And like, I think the ego reads that as a mortal threat. You can't think your way through a spiritual awakening. I think every attempt to strategize is like the ego like tightening its grip to try to hold you back.
The ego, I got to tell you something. The ego was born out of a theory or a concept called executive agency, and it has a job. The problem is that we don't know what its job is. So we don't know how to say, hello, ego, that's not your job. It's not your job to do that, right? Because there's so blurred lines between the external and internal environment with this. Look, the ego has a main role in life. Its job is to navigate our daily life, regulate our emotions, interact with the world effectively. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like the clock that you're looking at. It has the same function, really. It manages time, right? It does it in a very systematic way. But there are parts of the ego. When you put the ego's power, external environment, historical conditioning, that's where you go bump in the night. That's where, what is the ego taking its cues from? You know, I have this group of young people I manage in addiction and recovery. And, you know, there's in recovery, there's a thing that you call a fourth step, and you write your fears down. These kids lapped on to a scene from Dune. Now, I have read the books Dune when I was a youngster, right? Herbert's books. But they come out with the movie. And the most tellable scene that came in the trailers literally sold the movie, because I don't think anybody's going to go to the movie if they didn't show this scene. It's when the main character's got his finger in the pain box, and Jessica is in the other room. The mom is in the other room behind the doors, and he's got his finger in the pain box. And she recites the most pivotal lines, pretty much, of any historic novel, in a sense. Pain is the, right? She talks about fear is the little mind killer. Just that one. So these kids, before they sit down and do their fourth step, they as a group, they've memorized the mantra. Because what are they doing? They are shutting their ego down from telling them, if you actually get sober, you are going to be doomed. You're not going to know how to live life. And I'm giving you a simple example, but it goes back to what you said. All of this plays a role in how we want to show up in life, not how the ego wants us to show up in life. And I think that's what we're talking about here today.
Yeah.
You know, how do you know it? How do you know it? It's like when I said to you, my mom said to me, us kids, girls, you gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And you got to know when your ego is telling you to do something you absolutely really don't feel like doing.
That's fantastic advice.
I just went off. I went off for a little bit there. I apologize.
No, that's okay. I wanted to hit on the aspect of, while we're still talking about the buildup to surrender, that everybody knows is coming. um, there is just so much that's going on within this vessel of ours, that if we keep it locked down and we stay ruled by ego, nothing is moving. It just gets stuck and trapped, and we literally feel stuck and trapped, and we don't really know why. And as decades go by, it's just continues to get more and more dense with less movement. And in my role as an energy healer, a big part of what I'm doing is just helping that energy move again, to give some relief for all those decades of, just unexpressed emotions and limiting beliefs and traumas, and just anything that's been taken on in the field and in the body. So I feel like the longer you've had resistance, the louder the body ends up getting. We've talked about this before,
Yeah.
how your body's going to start trying to communicate to you through pain. It could be anxiety or insomnia. Like, I get that a lot, people coming in. Obviously, physical symptoms, but then just emotional flatness or energetic depletion. And then you layer the hormones on top of that, and everybody's just like, I'm stuck, but I'm also hormonal, but like I'm flat, but I feel like I have these eruptions, and then
Yeah.
everybody's like, I'm broken, what's wrong with me? And I can't get out of this box. So it's not malfunction. It really is intelligence. And I feel like it's the body that's trying to complete what the mind keeps interrupting.
Yeah. It's very powerful. And the work you do is powerful because, I love the word surrender, by the way. I'm so glad you used that word. It is one of the most misunderstood words, especially when you compile it with any conversation of the ego. So there's this thing that's called surrender flow. Now, how do I know it? I studied with a guy down at Claremont. I used to call him me. He's got a very long name. He's the flow theorist, researcher. And I had a conversation with him about a problem I had. And he said, have you heard of surrender flow? And okay, I'm just like, dude, this is a professor. I used to call him Dr. Me. And I'm like, I don't want to hear this. He said, can you see the tension that builds up in your body? It's like, what are you going to tell me to surrender? What? Surrender into what? You want me to give up my thesis? What do you want me to surrender? And he said, no, I didn't say. I said surrender flow. It's a practice of releasing the illusion of control and trusting life's natural rhythm.
Talk about something that needs to be curriculum.
Did you get that? It's the practice. It's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now we got to bring that and help people do it. That's what you're doing. It's the practice of releasing the illusion of control and trusting life's natural rhythm. To your point, Renan, if your body is reacting to the chaos and the absolute mishmash of holding back, resisting, not being oneself, not speaking our word. And boy, as women, I'm telling you, we're seeing it now. We're seeing it. Oh my gosh. I can't even believe I'm going to talk to you about this. We're seeing it in the headlines now, and it's berserko for me. But we're not seeing it over here, right? It's, I grew up with the dad that was able to say, I don't have to tell you that. Like in so many words. Or basically just walking away. But we're talking about surrender versus giving up. You're not talking about giving up when you talk about surrender, are you?
No, not at all. And I just want to say that I love the idea of it being a practice as something that's ongoing, because it's not just let's just wait till we get to the point where we're about to explode and then let go in a pile of, tears and then move on, done.
Yeah.
Like it is just like meditation, and it is like anything that you want to be well versed at in life, that it needs a steady stream of opportunities to be intentional and practice and focus and learn and read and come back around and practice it again and integrate. Yeah, that really stuck with me. Thank you for that.
Well, I'm going to tell you to your point about the ego, but also to talk about, as we're getting ready to talk about the body and how the body maneuvers through this. There are three aspects of this: surrender versus giving up, and acceptance. I use this in my unstuckable coaching. It's not easy, but you do it. It is a process. It's a practice. Surrender versus giving up. It's clear. Active acceptance. I'm not just saying acceptance here. It involves doing your absolute best and then accepting resulting circumstances without complaint, resistance, or self-sabotage. What the heck would happen if we learned that? But you know why the ego doesn't like this? It's the third step, release of ego. It requires trusting that life or the universe is guiding you, allowing you to stop chasing, overthinking, stressing out the future. Some people call that spirituality.
Yeah.
Belief in a power greater than yourself, or belief in that power greater than yourself being in you.
Yeah. And you hear a lot, let go, let God. Let go and let God.
Let go. Oh my God, that's a big one,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I think that doesn't, I think that might not really pack a punch until you're really ready to hear it.
I'll tell you when it packs a punch. When you have decided to stop drinking and using, and you're in your first year of that program. If you are not saying let go and let God 100 times a day. Now, today in the world, I've changed it. I say thank you, God, and it's the God of my understanding. And some days it's Baalula, some days it's Jesus, some days it's Mary, some days it's this and that. But when I go through my day now, the quickest way to shut down the ego for me, because you can only imagine the kind of what goes up in my mind, right? I was like, thank you, God. I just say it. I say it. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. There's nothing faster than that. Now, if it's something in life, like thank you, God, for this beautiful place. Thank you, God, that I'm learning to play pickleball today. Thank you, God, that I changed table tennis clubs and I have amazing coaches now. Thank you, God, for the Transformation Network, for everything I have. See, that one comes up when I have a day where websites are not working. Hello, right? Clients are not getting their shows up because we have a technology glitch. Or I post something on Facebook or YouTube that my team absolutely screams about because it may take us down. And I just keep saying, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
women, I want to ask you, where does this go if we don't know how to release it? I don't think the body was meant to take it, do you?
No, of course not. I mean, our body is a beautifully, divinely created, complex vessel that is designed to heal itself. I honestly believe that. I've seen enough and witnessed enough to believe that. And it's just through the way that we're living and in our surroundings that are causing us this distress or dis-ease that, if not expressed,
Mhm.
is festering and turning into disease and disharmony and incoherence and imbalance and any kind of words that you want to use. So
Mhm.
I think that it's so important to be conscientious about moving the energy. That can be working with an energy healer, of course, who can really jumpstart that and pull inflammation out, get things moving and flowing, help you express any kind of somatic, body worker. Doesn't need to be an energy healer so much, but anybody that's getting you breathing and moving the energy, but also just releasing your emotions and leaning into them. And we're gonna talk about my story when we come back from the
Yeah.
break.
Yeah.
But I really feel like there's a big key in unlocking this, moving through this stuckness and this frustration and this wall that we inevitably all come to, that the key is in moving the energy and having the release of everything that's been trapped and suppressed and stuck in our tissues. And believe me, better out than in, right? So with that, this may be a good time for moving into the break. So when we come back, I would be honored to share my breakdown as a breakthrough story for the first time. And yeah, if anybody would like to find me online, it's Manon, or I'm sorry, alignedenergyhealing.com. From there, you can book a call, which I would love to talk to you about anything, whether it's exploring healing or coaching or just talking about where you are in life. I welcome any of those conversations. I'm offering a link to listeners for free gift. It's called alignedenergyhealing.com/free gift. You can go to recorded meditations of mine. There are also resources that you can pull down, books that I love, on the resources tab. So, Dr. Pat, anything before we?
No, I think there's a reason that you have been called to be the healer you are. And when we come back from break, what we're going to do is people are going to understand why. Because somebody said to me a long time ago, Manon, you cannot take somebody to a place you haven't gone before. And I laughed at them until I got sick. So I'm excited for you to share this story with people
Mhm.
because they will now know why you are the person that can help them. You see, that's what our story does, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right. Thank you. We'll see you in a minute.
Are you feeling stuck? drained, or disconnected from your true self? Join Manon DeBerich and Dr. Pat on Aligned Energy, where ancient wisdom meets modern health and wellness. Tune in every second Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Discover how energy awareness and alignment can help you reclaim your power, vitality, and purpose. For more information, visit AlignedEnergyHealing.com and start your journey today.
Rethinking your purpose in life? Become a certified hypnotherapist and regressionist today. Bryn Blankenship is a renowned certified master hypnotherapist, international instructor, and author. In addition to her own show, Afterlife Teacher, Soul Lessons Bringing You Full Circle, Bryn is a popular radio show guest who speaks about her soul expression spiritual regression, her transformative method for finding and following your soul's guidance. For more information on her hypnoregression and afterlife regression certification programs, visit brynblankenship.com.
You ever feel it? That whisper just beneath the surface? A deeper part of you ready to rise? At Aligned Energy, we don't just inspire change, we embody transformation. This is where high-performing women come home to themselves, where the masks fall away and the real you steps forward, powerful, radiant, and fully alive. This is Manon, energy alchemist, transformation coach, and best-selling author, guiding women leaders from burnout to purpose. Together, we will reconnect with your innate wisdom to clear energetic blocks and activate your eros and life force, awakening the sensual, sovereign self within. For the wild-hearted, for the ones ready to get clear, stop performing and start becoming. This is your invitation to rise and step into your power, purpose, and possibility. Visit AlignedEnergyHealing.com to book your exploratory call or session today.
Have you ever faced a situation where you weren't quite sure how to handle it with poise, confidence, and grace? Of course you have. We all have. Well, tune in to the Change Mastery Show with me, John J. Murphy. Together, my co-host, Dr. Pat, and I will introduce you to a different way to think about change. Not as something to fear or resist, but as a gift. Join us the second Wednesday of every month at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Subscribe, share, and start your journey to mastery at johnjmurphy.org.
Are you feeling stuck, drained, or disconnected from your true self? Join Manon DeBerich and Dr. Pat on Aligned Energy, where ancient wisdom meets modern health and wellness. Tune in every second Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Discover how
You're thinking.
You ever feel it? That whisper just beneath the surface? A deeper.
Have you ever
Welcome back. You've got Manon and Dr. Pat. We are about to dive into my story, my raw and real story of my personal surrender experience. But first, if you would like to book any time with me for a call or healing or coaching exploration, you can find me at AlignedEnergyHealing.com. All right, so, my ears are starting to ring on my left side. That's very curious. Okay, so imagine, if you will, 2019, I had just, earlier in 2019, I had let go of everybody in my company. I had this isn't part of this story, but I had reached an inflection point with my business after growing it nationally, having 3 lines of business, where I just was realizing this isn't what I want to do. This isn't making any economic sense. This is not feeling good in my body. I just need to make the hard decision and let everybody go. So I did that. And a few months later, realized it's time for me to do something similar at home. Things were not feeling right. And the long and the short of it is, I made a very difficult decision to leave a 24-year marriage with 2 kids that were in about middle school. So I rented an apartment and I moved out, and this was in fall of 2019. And I started doing some Tony Robbins. I joined his platinum partnership, which I just loved. I just started paying attention to all of the things that were starting to present themselves to me, like never before, like angel numbers. What are those? Why did these ads keep showing up for these seemingly random things, but my body is getting activated when I watch them? Maybe I'm supposed to click here or do something. And I just started following some breadcrumbs. And I will say that as things started to heat up between the reality of my new situation, and having a whole lot of time in a very empty, small apartment, and as we kind of moved into the early part of 2020, where not only were things heating up with the divorce and having to go back and forth, reading the briefs and working with lawyers and figuring out the parenting plan and all the nuances of that, then the lockdown came and I couldn't travel. My whole life was travel. I was traveling every other week for a really long time. I was on calls all day long with people in this country and in other countries, so different time zones. When everything shut down, I had no distractions, I'll call it, okay? Nothing to have to do to occupy my mind, to keep myself distracted from what was actually needing to be processed in my body. And I remember very specifically that I was in my bed and I had a difficult conversation, and it just felt like the straw that broke the camel's back. I just started crying, and let me just say, I was not a crier. I did not cry. What I was telling you at the beginning of this episode, absolutely me, okay? And it wasn't because I was like, I'm gonna suck it up because you don't cry in business. No, like I just didn't cry. I wasn't connected to it. It wasn't even a thought for me. I started crying and I went into this heap where I was in a fetal position and I was like hyperventilating. It was like it was streaming out of me. My body was shaking, like convulsing. And I don't even know what time it was, like how much time had passed. I feel like, I mean, it was hours though. Like it was a long time. And it was like the floodgates opened and I wasn't even conscious about what I was crying about. It was like this energy just needed someplace to go because it was just maximum pressure inside, right? Like when you're heating up some hot water for tea, right? And all of a sudden then it just starts steaming out the top because it's just, that was me. Okay. So I had always been the one that handled everything. I was literally trying to map out my divorce like a chess game. And I said that to myself and anybody else. I thought that I could outplan and figure out. I thought that I could minimize my risk. Um, I thought that if I could get 3 steps ahead, 4 steps ahead, that I could minimize my exposure or my pain or my, you know, cash outlay. um, and when this happens, it's without warning, and you just have to let go and surrender to it. And I just remember thinking like well, let me I wasn't conscious of being surrendered in the moment. It wasn't like, oh, here we go. This is like what I've heard about, because I hadn't heard about this. It was like, I can't control what's happening to me. Like my whole body is shaking and I don't know what's happening. So I can say that I remember feeling a lot of fear of the unknown, presumably, but just fear of every possible thing that could go wrong and not being able to solve for it. Super angry, just grieving everything that I had, the marriage, the family unit, everything that I had really believed was going to be forever. Just, and then of course, just complete sadness and sorrow. And I think probably most of all, like that terrifying sense that I didn't know what was next.
Mm.
Yeah. So underneath it all was, if I'm not going to figure this out, who will? There's nobody coming to save me. How can I assure my own safety and survival, you know, economically, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually? Um, and remember, this was before I really even got into energy. So I was definitely starting to feel it in my body for the first time, because I had been so disconnected. My head and my body were so disconnected. So this wasn't a choice to surrender. This was me running out of fight. It gives me chills and it makes me choked up to say that. Um, I mean, it just felt like I was out to sea and like the ocean had taken me, and I didn't know if I was going to be, you know, hitting some rocks along the way, if I was going to get sucked under, if I was going to go way out to the middle of nowhere and like not ever see land again. I mean, but I couldn't do anything about it. So I just had to wait and see. And, whew. And I've never said that to anybody before, let alone on a recorded podcast episode. So thank you all for holding me in your loving presence while I share that. Um, yeah, I think it's just a moment that that's why I named this episode. It's, overwhelm is the ego's white flag, because that so succinctly paints the picture that if you have nowhere to go and you've outthought or you've tried to use all your tools, all you have is this overwhelm. And then that overwhelm just gives way to an inevitable surrender, because you're out of options. You're out of strategies. And guess what? That's when you're cracked open for your next, for your potential, for your evolution, it really is like a portal that opens and you can step through it, and it's like the first day of the rest of your life, you know? Yeah. Okay, Pat, say something.
I I just trying not, I'm got some tears coming down my face because what you just did is a next step to freedom. It's not easy to share a story like that, Manon, and I thank you so much for doing that because you and I both know there are countless people, women, I'll say women. I can't speak for men, but I work primarily with women in my coaching practice. And they are listening and hearing this because they have not given themselves permission to be vulnerable and to really talk their truth. And by sharing that story, it changes lives. And I can't help but think of how telling that story has now just changed yours.
Yeah. I think a big takeaway from me looking back is that like all of that emotion, the grief, the fear, the anger, like I mean, there's literally rage, um, but a lot of fear. And they're not problems to solve.
No.
They're energies that have been held in for decades, they've been stacked, that finally now have a pathway out. You know, they have permission to move. And and then when they move, there's space. And then what enters that space is something the mind could never have manufactured. You know, like it's this concept that we all have potential, but when you open up space, you know, you can create anything with that potential consciously.
Mm. And you know, you said something very powerful too, and I just want to go back to it. I want to talk about surrender because we have such a misunderstanding, and people think surrender is a very passive thing. Like, I'm actually don't know why we think about that like that because it's like super not.
Yeah.
You know, to get to the place where you can be and be, where you can accept the next. You know, my mom used to say, and I talk about Mama Doris a lot, she was just genius. I mean, the woman didn't have any education, okay? But she would say to us girls, she would say over so many things. But the one thing she would say to us is, if you understand that going through life is knowing what you don't know, you will know everything you need to know. Do you hear what I said? Now, can you imagine telling three girls that and we looking at her like, what, yeah, what the heck?
You're like,
And she
whatever.
never would explain
Mom's just
herself.
going off again on her.
Eh, but she's so right. So the three of us, me more than my other sisters, right? Because I didn't have the restrictions they did in marriages and so many other things, right? To hold them back. But I grew up with that. And I lead my life with, I don't know what I don't know, but I will know it. And that's surrender because what surrender does is it gives you an inner knowing. It doesn't say that you're not going to do anything. I had to surrender when I decided to stop drinking and using.
Mhm.
It wasn't a passive thing. What it means is I'm not going to keep engaging in something, but I'm simply going to abandon the need for an outcome that I think should happen. And every time I've done that, Manon, just like you described, see, you surrendered multiple times in your story and you got an outcome perhaps you didn't expect. But I've always landed better on my feet, better on my feet. I've always landed in a better place. And I can't think of a single time at the moment where it was the place that I really thought should or wanted to be.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's, you know, we talk about this Phoenix arc a lot on this show because this is my story and my mission is to help people come through this alchemy of letting your identity and just letting your identity and your ego die, hopefully without having a full, dark night of the soul. Hopefully you can get in there before it gets to be like this, a horrible thing. But um, you have to let that identity and ego go, and surrender is the key to that. And like you said, it's not passive, it's not giving up, it's actively releasing the grip of the known and trusting that something larger is on the other side, or something more authentic, or something that's more liberating and freeing is on the other side. And I know from all of my peers, that have gone through this, and usually there's a divorce involved or some kind of partnership that's breaking, that seems to be a very common element of this. But it feels like annihilation, because their entire sense of safety
Yeah.
lives in their own competence, and
Yeah.
surrendering feels like dying. And in a
Yeah.
sense, it is, because the old self, the one that's like built on control and strategy and performance, has to die. But that's not a tragedy. Like, that's the whole point of this whole Phoenix sacred death, right? It's not something that's done to you, it's something that you move through as part of this natural evolution, I feel like. And that's how you get to the other side, this like fully authentic flow state where you're more magnetic, you know who you are and what you want. You've been intentional about letting go of what's not serving you, people, places, careers, whatever, and just being very intentional and consciously choosing what gets to stay and what's going to go. And I have this rest of my life here that I came here to do. Like, who am I and what do I really want to do? I probably don't want all these things that the ego has told me that I need to feel safe. I probably don't need to amass a bunch of material things, or make a certain salary, or have certain people even around me. Like, I can just be, and that's enough. It feels good. Believe me, like, I have the feedback that I've gotten just in the last few years is ridiculous, just in terms of like, you look like you've taken years off your life. You just look like you just are radiating joy, like, what's going on? What are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just living differently, you know? So to all the women out there, I would say, if you stop being the one that handles everything, who are you? I think that's the big question from all of this. And it can't come from the mind. You have to feel it. You have to have a knowing. So, Pat, what else would you say
Hmm.
as we close, to the women that actually
Hmm.
feel like they need safe enough? They need
Hmm.
to feel safe,
Hmm.
but
I think
also
you
have this
you've said
permission
most of
to
it.
let go.
Look, you've said most of it. And I think what's important for women listening to this is to understand what's on the other side. You know, we don't always arrive at certainty, right? There's a quality that happens when we're in what I told you before about that flow state. And it's not some elusive thing. Every one of us has the ability. As a matter of fact, did you know that women have a greater ability to do this? How do we know? Watch a woman hold her infant baby for the first time. That's all you got to do. There's nothing more present than that. We have an innate ability because of what we were here to do and how we were here to do. We just have to remember that. But here's what I want to leave you with. That that book that I referenced changed my life when I was a crazy young person. But I never forgot the message. And this is the message for women. It is a simple line. It says, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will present it. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when all is gone, I will turn my inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. And I want women to remember, only you will remain. And surrender will get you there.
Ooh, mic drop. Yeah. Wow. If you guys out there are exhausted right now and you feel like you've run out of strategies and you don't know what comes next, just know that exhaustion is not a sign of failure. Makes me want to cry. It's your threshold. And let the collapse be the opening for you to step into the truth of who you really are, to choose yourself, because nobody's going to do it for you. And I would encourage you to answer the question, how are you really doing? We talked in the beginning about how we all just say, I'm good, I'm fine. My doctor friend says fine is a 4-letter word. How are you really doing? What can you commit to right now to start moving that energy that is stuck, to liberate some capacity to step into your potential and pull in consciously what you really want to fill yourself up with? Joy, passion, vitality, and just really own where you are with yourself right now. If you need help releasing energy, feel free to reach out to me, of course. AlignedEnergyHealing.com. I would say book a call is a great place to start. We can talk about whether healing or coaching or some kind of combination or just a conversation is a great place to start. Or seek out some other kind of somatic healer, practitioner that can help kind of crack the egg, like just get it cracked so that you have some way to start releasing, because it's a requirement, and the more you delay it, the more you're going to be feeling that pressure inside. It's not going to get better on its own. Okay. I will leave you with that. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Dr. Pat.
Thank you.
For insight as usual. All right. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to Aligned Energy, where ancient wisdom meets modern health and wellness. This is Manon.
And I'm Dr. Pat.
Join us for more inspiration to step into your power and reconnect with your inner wisdom. Be sure to tune in every second Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. I invite you to like and subscribe to Aligned Energy with Manon on your favorite platform. And if you're ready to go deeper, visit AlignedEnergyHealing.com to book a healing or coaching session or schedule a complimentary discovery call. Until next time, stay aligned, stay empowered, and embrace the energy that is uniquely yours. See you next time.